Motoring 2013 is brought to you in part by Shell V-Power Premium Gasoline.
This is an E-quality ATM bucket machine.
The rodeo may be the official sport of the state of Texas. However, in Galveston, Texas, the lifestyle is simply California cool. And this is where Kia has decided to launch what they hope will be a cool and successful vehicle. It's the second generation Kia Rondo. However, you won't see this Rondo driving the streets of Galveston. In fact, you won't see it anywhere else in North America, with one exception: Canada.
The outgoing 2012 model Rondo actually performed really well for us. It was well equipped, and the new Rondo, the 2014, just offers so much more. We held on to what really worked with that vehicle, which was volume space, versatility, fuel efficiency. You still get all that with the 2014, plus so much more.
Value pack vehicle from the base model. Well, you get Bluetooth as standard, you get air conditioning as standard, you get 6-speed transmission, electronic stability control as standard, 5-year warranty. When you move up a trim to the EX, you're looking at heated seat, you're looking at leather interior, heated mirrors, EX luxury, panoramic sunroof, navigation, so all your comforts are there for you.
I owned a 2009 EX V6, and I bought it primarily because I hate minivans. I hate carting around unused car. And in a minivan, if you only got the driver in it, there's an awful lot of vehicle that's along for the ride consuming fuel. I ended up buying the Rondo because occasionally, having 4 kids, when the 6 of us went out, we could go out in one car instead of taking 2.
One choice of engine. Great thing about that is a 2-liter direct injection, 164 horse, 156 foot-pounds of torque, made it to a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic. It's a great choice for everybody.
So the new Rondo comes with one engine. However, the outgoing vehicle, you had a choice, including a V6. Probably the only complaint I had with that Rondo was the V6 was a bit of a thirsty puppy. This 4-cylinder, it doesn't give you quite the same performance, but you know what? I'd take the fuel economy savings any day over that minuscule difference in performance.
This is a brand new platform. Nothing was carried over. Chassis, suspension tuning, engine, interior, all brand new.
Won't be sold in the States. No, they're not going to sell it in the States, and I find that the ultimate irony. In Canada, it sells like hotcakes. It's been a very, very popular model. For some reason, the Americans didn't want it, so they're not getting it. When you look at some of the little touches, a flashlight in the trunk, and it goes on, they've got a place to store the privacy cover. So many times, the privacy cover either ends up in the garage or rolling around behind the front seats. Now it's got a place to live. A couple of other features I like about this new Rondo. This one is found on other Kias, but when you lock the doors with a remote, the side view mirrors automatically go in and they're out of the way. The other, there's a panel of glass behind the A-pillar. This eliminates a potential blind spot. It also brings back memories with yours truly growing up when very few cars had air conditioning, and certainly not ours in our driveway. There used to be a vent that you could open and close, but for the life of me and Pete McCallum behind the camera, we can't remember the name of it. So if you know the name of this vent, go to the Motoring Facebook page, let us know, and it'll make it worth your while.
The Kia brand has actually come a long way in the last few years in particular. Given our consumer feedback, the stigma of Kia is all about affordable cars is behind us. Latest studies suggest that we've actually increased quality over the last 10 years, 57%. In addition, according to J.D. Power Appeal Study, we've actually entered the top tier in terms of quality offered to the consumer.
Compared to my 2009, this thing is a quantum leap forward. The handling is so much crisper. The engine and transmission, quite frankly, surprised me. I wasn't expecting a whole pile out of a 2-liter engine with 164 horsepower, but it's got plenty of boogie. I mean, if you put 7 sumo wrestlers in there, may your superior being be with you. But for normal people, no problem.
They love it. They're like, oh, I've never been in a Porsche before. Nothing but smiles whenever they get out of the car. They're so excited.
You may have heard some of this before on this show, but I've got a solution to all your driving problems. That's later on Kenzie's Corner.
The Mercedes-Benz B-Class has been a good seller for Mercedes-Benz, and that was in spite of being underpowered and rather ugly. Well, that all changes. On this edition of Test Drive, we take a look at its replacement. This is the all-new B250. The latest B-Class ramps up the style quotient as the lines are now sleeker, it rides lower and the back end is far less hearse-like. And yes, the mandatory LED daytime running lights are glowing up front, albeit they optional. In the end, it's a good-looking rig that balances functionality with sportiness. The latter could not be said of the previous generation. The interior of this B-Class takes a huge step in the right direction. The materials are now soft touch, and this honeycomb trim, it adds a richness to the cabin that just wasn't there before. Now, there are a couple of things I do like and a couple I don't. The things I like: the blind spot monitoring system is superb and should be standard on all vehicles. And these paddle shifters, they work regardless of which mode you have the transmission in or the shifter position. That's the way it should be. The things I didn't like: the lane departure warning system, just way too intrusive for its own good. And this command system, not the easiest thing I've ever had to navigate. Perhaps the biggest change is found in the B's chassis. Gone is the sandwich-style platform in favour of a regular platform, but one with a twist. It was designed to accommodate all future powertrains, including the inevitable fuel cell. In the tester's case, it accommodates the B250's 2-litre turbocharged 4. This engine produces the goods and then some. It spins out an effortless 208 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque at just 1,250 RPM. This puts some serious spring in the B's work ethic. This B-Class has got plenty of utility. With the seats upright, 17 cubic feet of cargo space, and if you fold them down, which is a simple operation, that number grows to just over 54 cubic feet. What's missing is some of the clever thinking that they had on the European version of this car I tested. The first thing, the back seat actually moved back and forth by about 140 millimetres. That either maximised rear seat legroom, or it bumped the cargo capacity when it was in the forward position to 23 cubic feet. Likewise, there's a problem with the floor. In this car, it's fixed. The European car, you can put it in one of two positions. In this position, it maximises the height of the cargo bay. When you lifted it up, it became level with the back of the seats, which eliminated that annoying ridge. The only transmission available is Mercedes-Benz 7-speed double-clutch transmission. The broad array of ratios spread the power out very nicely. The shifts are quick, and more importantly, they're well coordinated. The tester featured economy, sport and manual modes along with paddle shifters. The economy mode softens the throttle to the point where it takes a fairly aggressive stab at the gas to get things moving along smartly. Unfortunately, this is the default mode, so I had to manually select the sport mode every time I started the car. A lot of people ask me why we do the pylon test on a surface like this. It's cracked and it's gravelly. The answer is quite simple. This surface mirrors what you find in the real world. We have a crumbling road infrastructure. All cars will dance on a perfectly paved surface. Not all cars can dance on a surface like this. So in the real world, if you do have an emergency maneuver to make, if it passed it here, you know the car will pass it anywhere. The B250 benefits greatly from its new multi-link rear suspension, and when the sport package is selected, the adaptive dampers. They worked very effectively. Body motion was controlled, yet the ride comfort remained excellent. There is now much less body roll, and the B250 has a sportier feel and, as I say, significantly better feedback. As for understeer, there is surprisingly little until the driver takes real liberties. The solid platform and suspension keeps the 225/45R17 tyres planted, which delivers the requisite lateral grip. The previous B-Class, even in turbocharged guise, well, it wasn't exactly a pulse-quickening ride. This car is completely different. Much better engine, much better transmission, great handling, very nice cabin, and it loses none of the practicality. In other words, it has all of the ingredients the previous car was missing.
Here at the 2013 Georgian College Auto Show. It's the 28th running of the show. So we have over 20 exhibitors here today, as well as our aftermarket area and the Porsche test track. It's the only college program of its kind in Canada. Puts a real focus on automotive and ties in the kind of business aspect of it as well. So it gives us a good opportunity to work with the manufacturers and around the manufacturers in the industry we're looking to work for in the future. It is the largest outdoor auto show student run in North America. So it gives the students an opportunity to both work the show, plan the show, and kind of see the production as it goes up with the tents and all the event companies.
Doesn't it fit me perfect? I think it's great for them to get a little experience with the public. It's a great local show. It's worth coming to. A lot of new vehicles with a lot of new technology.
From the manufacturer's perspective, we are the future of the automotive industry, so they're very supportive of us and go through a lot of process to train the students to be ready for the show.
Got a big screw tower bar in aluminum, so it's good for the flexibility of the car.
People visiting always love the show because it is a 100% sales-free environment. So from what we've been hearing this year, the students are extremely knowledgeable with the products, very friendly and willing to help you without any pressure from the kind of the sales aspect.
Notice it's got the on-dash navigation system. You've got your satellite Sirius XM.
The short wheelbase and the horsepower of the 370Z makes it ideal to go sideways.
We are working with Camp Bucko, and we actually have going on our autocross track where we have a Porsche Boxster S and a Porsche Cayman that we're taking people on test drives for donations. The instructors that are driving are professionally trained instructors. They also work at different racetracks teaching. So we bring them from there to here so that we can give the best experience possible for the spectator. They love it. They're like, oh, I've never been in a Porsche before. They ask, how did you get this job? Nothing but smiles whenever they get out of the car. They're so excited.
How was that?
That was awesome. Oh my. Very nice.
Your first ride in a Porsche?
It was, yes.
Yeah? What do you think?
It's beautiful. I want one.
I'm actually a grad of the diploma program here at Georgian College. I love going here. It taught me so much through the co-op opportunities that were here. That's actually how I received the job at FAF Automotive, through Georgian College's co-op program.
No disrespect to NASCAR. This isn't NASCAR. This is, again, the relevancy of this series is that there's a direct correlation between the cars that run in our series. They're not badged cars. What you see is what you get with these cars. They're the production-based models, modified for racing.
The motoring tip of the week is brought to you by Walmart. For everyday low prices on Pennzoil, conventional, and synthetic oils.
Our motoring tip of the week concerns motor oil. In addition to lubricating your engine, motor oil is the primary cooling medium for just about all the internal moving parts in that engine. Now, when you think about the cooling system on your car, that antifreeze water mixture is regulated. Once the engine's run for a few minutes, it runs at a consistent approximately 195 degrees Fahrenheit. But the engine oil temperature is not regulated. Its temperature is dependent on ambient temperature, how warm it is outside, how hard you're running the engine, the load factor. In the summertime, oil temperature can go as high as 300 degrees Fahrenheit and sometimes more. There's a piston out of a 350 Chevy V8. This is what we call the crown of the piston, and this is the part that's exposed to the combustion chamber and the flame front that ignites. Every time we fire the spark plug and ignite the air-fuel mixture, the piston is pushed down. So the piston's flying up and down inside the engine, this part exposed to the flame front, and when I flip the piston over, everything that you see there is exposed to motor oil. So it gets splash lubricated and splash cooled by motor oil. Now you can see that this skirt of the piston actually looks not too bad, but when we go to this skirt, it's heavily galled or scored, and it's been damaged. So there was a lubrication problem, maybe a cooling problem as well, but in any case, it's that oil that's jetted up against the underside of the piston that cools it and washes away the heat of combustion. There's the typical volume of oil in most engines. That's a 5-liter jug. If you had a pickup truck or SUV, you might have 6, this one and this one. But in any case, what I want to tell you today is that if it's the summertime, you want to make sure that your engine oil is completely to the full mark. Now, if it's down to the add mark, you're not going to blow up the engine, but the oil temperature is going to be significantly higher than it should be because you're trying to dissolve all that engine heat into a smaller volume of oil. If it needs 5 liters or it needs 6, it needs to have that volume of oil in order to cool all those internal moving parts. That's your motoring tip of the week.
This vehicle is our flagship vehicle for Acura. It's all new. The packaging, the balance, the power, fuel economy, everything about this vehicle caters to the customer's needs. It is well connected, highly technological, and this is going to change the luxury midsize segment.
Or at least, that's what Acura is hoping. The RLX really can't do any worse than its predecessor, the RL. According to the New York Times, when it debuted back in 2011, the RL was the worst-selling mainstream car in America that year, maybe 1,000 customers.
The packaging of the RL last generation was one of the problems with the vehicle. It didn't have the space, it was a little tight. So the biggest change on this vehicle is the packaging. The footprint's about the same, but the interior is much bigger. The rear legroom is class-leading. We went with a 3.5-liter V6 with a direct injection. And what we encompassed here, to talk to your point, instead of going smaller, we put in what's called a variable cylinder management system. What that does, it actually allows you to shut down 3 cylinders when it's not needed. When you cruise down the highway, you really don't need all your cylinders. And a lot of the manufacturers do this by going down to a 4-cylinder turbo, something like that. For us, we went to a V6, keep all the power there when it's needed, and then shut them off when you don't need them.
The RLX is a touch taller, longer, and wider than the RL, but inside you have a lot more room for passengers in both the front and back. Styling is, shall we say, Acura subtle, but the most distinctive feature is the so-called dual-eye headlights. Most of the competition in this prestige sedan segment offer an all-wheel drive option, but not the RLX, it's only front-wheel drive.
The front-wheel drive package, in this case, again, we are looking for package balance of the vehicle. You call it front-wheel drive, but as you know, it has precision all-wheel steering. So all-wheel drive and steering is all about torque vectoring. Yeah. So in this vehicle, what we did was use the all-wheel steering to vector the torque to get around corners and give you that performance. By doing so, we were able to save space of the interior and gives you a better fuel economy, better spaciousness, and handling is much more balanced on this vehicle.
Let's see how good this rear-wheel steering really is. I know. Let's go through the pylons backwards, only using the backup camera for reference. They're waiting for me to hit a pylon, so they go, oh, you hit the pylon. But I didn't hit a pylon. One of the biggest selling features of this RLX is going to be the all-wheel steering. But it's not like the all-wheel steering you're used to. It's not mechanical, it's electronic. It can work one wheel or both wheels together. It's something you really have to try for yourself.
Closed captioning for Motoring 2013 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
There's a lot of talk going around about charging tolls for using the high occupancy vehicle lanes. That's a carpool lane. Now, I've said before, carpool lanes make no sense. They're not attracting enough people to do the job they're supposed to be doing. Half the people there are using them illegally. And besides, my tax dollars paid for those lanes. Why can't I use them? Well, the idea is to try and make commuting more expensive, and hopefully they'll drive more people into public transit systems. Except very few communities in Canada have a public transit system that's big enough to do the job. Besides, we have a public transit system. It's called the car. All we got to do then is find more efficient ways to get people to use the car. Now, I know I've said this before, but the fact is the number one determinant for how much people use the system is how much fuel they use. Now, if I'm driving my 4-cylinder turbo diesel and the guy beside me is driving an 8,000-pound, 8-liter pickup truck, who's using the system more efficiently? I am. So you raise the price of fuel, maybe he buys a 5,000-pound pickup truck, or maybe he even buys a diesel car, maybe he even buys a hybrid or an electric car. Then he can use the HOV for free. How about that? It's pretty simple. I know nobody wants higher fuel prices, but folks, listen. Bureaucrats will find lots of ways to interfere with your driving. There's a lot worse ways than higher fuel prices, so be careful about what you don't ask for. I'm Jim Kenzie.
There's very little not to like about the new Kia Rondo, and it's a good example of why this company is on a roll, why global sales are up over 100% since 2007. Simply put, Kia gives a lot of value, a lot of content for the automotive dollar. And you know, you find options in this car that once were only found in the luxury segment. Now, buying a car is always a crapshoot, but I think these days when you talk about quality and Kia in the same sentence, it's usually a positive conversation rather than a, well, you know. Before I go though, maybe a pet peeve, a suggestion. I think they need a more distinctive color in the Rondo lineup, something like a cobalt blue. So there you go. Before we go, make sure you check us out at motoringtv.com and get in on the conversation. Join us on Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
Our research tells us that at least 50% of the purchase decision in this segment is emotionally based. And we felt a strong need to build a strong emotional attachment between the vehicle and our guests who are considering in this segment. We feel this vehicle is simply outstanding in terms of doing that.
Motoring 2013 has been brought to you in part by Shell V-Power, premium gasoline.